This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
The views expressed on the following program are those of the program's host, not necessarily WPSL. However, you are encouraged to like and share those views on Facebook. This show is actually going to be archived on YouTube, so you'll get to save it, share it, keep it, and enjoy it over and over and over again. It's time now for Howard Insurance in Port St. Lucie to present the African American Scene with Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on Wednesday night. And happy 4th to you. Hope you plan on doing some barbecuing, drinking some beer.
I'm not going to do any barbecuing, but I bet you I'll be eating some barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And listen, first of all, I got to tell you, I came across this phrase just past week. And it's so simple, but it just has stuck with me. And it's very simple. If it's new, it's never happened before. Such a simple, straightforward phrase.
But it also says something else.
Yeah.
If it's happened before, over and over again, it's not necessarily new.
Right.
Okay.
But what I think what we're the big thing is, if it's new, understand it hasn't happened before. So yeah, it might be something you're not familiar with or not accustomed to, which is appropriate because you've never seen it or experienced it before, which is okay. That's why I love that phrase when it hit me like a lightning bolt. But anyway, we're going to have open mic night tonight, and we're going to have Anaya on next week, who is a good friend of Cliff and myself.
And also, she also chills out with people like Al Sharpton,
yes,
stuff like that.
Yes, and Dr. Oz. She's been on Dr. Oz show quite a bit. So she will be with us next week to promote her upcoming event. So I think it's her second or third one, but it's pretty good. But okay, we're having open. And if this is the first time you've ever listened to me, here's the protocol. I put out a list of topics and give you some background on those topics, if need be, and then I ask you to call up and give me your thoughts. And tonight on one of my topics, we're going to take a poll. Topic number 1, Medicare for all. I am going to try my best to get you straight on this because it has been so distorted about what it means and what it is, and I see the same thing happening that I saw happen when the Affordable Care Act was introduced. There's so much bad information and lies out there about what it is. Hopefully, I will be able to shed some light on you. And for those of you who are open-minded and willing to listen, I will get you some food for thought so that you can have a better understanding of what that means. My second issue, and this is the one we're going to do the poll on. Are we ready for a woman president? And Cliff's going to be taking a tally, and I will give you the tally at the end of the show. Are we ready for a woman president? And I would like for you to call and give me your answer, yes or no, or and if you want to make comments, that's okay too. And that number is 340-1590.
Potentially a lot of really cool comments could come out of that.
Yes, 340-1590. And I will let you know my opinion about that too. Topic number 3. What are your thoughts about the debates last week? The debates were Wednesday and Thursday after my show. The debates were Wednesday night and Thursday night. my show had already taken place, so that so I'm looking for your thoughts about that. Topic number 4, the tragedy at the border. What would you do about what's going on at the border with these people who are trying to seek asylum or trying to come into our country? And I have some thoughts about that, some of which you're not going to like, but I'm going to give you my thoughts anyway. And here's topic number 5. And this is going to be an eye-opener for you. 55 years ago today, this happened in my life. That means it happened in my lifetime. They finally outlawed segregation. That was only 55 years ago. LBJ signed that law into effect, outlawing segregation. So for all of you that wonder, they say, wow, why these black people complain? That was in the past. That was so long ago. Newsflash, that was 55 years ago they just outlawed segregation.
Chances are somebody listening in has grandparents who had to go to a different school than the other kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of segregation.
Oh, my wife was in the last class at Ligon High School in Raleigh, North Carolina, which was a segregated high school. She was the last class, and they've held a reunion for the members of that school every year, and they have one every year around the 4th of July. So just think about that. 55 years ago today. That wasn't very long ago. And my last topic, and you'll find this very interesting, they're going to start a 24-hour black news network, which is going to start in November. The president and founder of this network, for all my conservative friends, you're going to find this very interesting. And because of the founder, you might even want to turn in and watch it, is J.C. Watts. If you don't know who J.C. Watts is, he was a part of the Republican leadership in the Congress. They kind of pushed him out, African American. He wrote a book that I read that I often talk about called What Color is a Conservative? So I would suspect that on this news network, I will definitely watch it to see what it will be all about. I think if it's done right, not only will it be beneficial for African Americans, I think my white brothers and sisters may benefit from being able to watch that. So there you have it. Those are my topics. And remember, tonight's poll is, do you think we are ready for a woman president? And one other little tidbit I found out this evening as I was coming in. There's a new place in the Treasure Coast called Treasure Coast Theater. And they're going to have a play, their first play, July 12th through July 21st, Crimes of the Heart. The play is called Crimes of the Heart, and the tickets are $22. So if you're interested, you can call this number, 418-2439. That's 418-2439. Okay. So let's get started here. I'm tackling this Medicare thing because, like I said, when the Affordable Care Act came into play, there was so many bad distortions out there. I feel compelled to try to give you accurate information as a professional who does Medicare. So I'm not a pundit. I'm not a political pundit just spouting off about what should or shouldn't be. I'm going to tell you what Medicare is. And we got Winnie on line 1. Yes, Winnie.
How you doing? No, I don't think people really ready for no female president. And a lot of people like that lady. What, Kamala Harris?
Yes.
She said her daddy Jamaican, her mama Indian.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh. And I know I heard on another radio station, Tom Jordan, and they thought maybe Joe Biden and her might be on the same ticket. Like Joe Biden might be the president, and she might be the vice president.
Well,
and they might be on the same ticket. I said, I don't know if she get that far about trying to be a vice president. We'll see, though. You know, times change, and things change, and nobody never thought that Barack, he'll be a first black president. Twice.
I sure didn't. When I first heard the name Barack Obama, I said, "Oh." Actually, I lost a bet to a very good I lost a bet to a very good friend of mine who is no longer with us. A white guy who was my good friend. He bet me. The first time he heard him speak, he said that guy's going to be president.
Yeah, I did. I was telling people about it too. That guy going to be president because he's a good listener. He's smart.
Yeah.
And I was telling people the same thing. Yeah, he going to be president. He going to be there.
Yeah,
and people going along with me. I was at working at that Walmart during security. I was edging people on. Let's vote for him. Like a group of people.
Okay.
Let's vote for Barack. He going to be there. He going to be there. Sure enough, he did want it, too, the first time.
Yes,
ma'am. He
ma'am.
won the second time. So this lady now, who knows? She might have a chance.
She might
have a chance.
I gotta let you go,
You
Winnie.
know what, Rudy? I hate to say it, but don't put no Caucasian people. You know they don't know to put the Donald Trump in there over Hillary. They said people came out to Baton Woods vote for Donald Trump against Hillary. They probably go do her the same way. The Caucasian people will come out. They're gonna come out to Baton Woods. Go vote for Donald Trump again.
Well, I don't know.
I hate to say it, but I don't know now. I don't know.
All
You
right.
know, them people that come out to Baton Woods and all kind of woods. Them country Caucasian people. They come out in numbers. I don't want that black lady in there. I vote for the Donald Trump again.
Well,
That's
you
all what's
voted.
gonna happen.
You voted for him.
Yeah, and for her, I vote for him again too.
Oh
I
Lord.
will.
Okay. All right.
will.
I gotta let you. I gotta let you go. I got some calls coming.
Okay.
All right. Thanks. Kurt on line 2.
Hi.
How you
How are
doing?
you doing this evening?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm going to be quick. I'm going to be quick here because I've got a customer. But I just make a comment. Universal health care is a wonderful thing, but if they're going to require me to have health insurance, then everybody in Washington, the aides, the senators, the congressmen, they have to be on the same plan that I'm on. I don't think it's right that our representatives in Washington get a golden plan and we get a ho hum plan. So if they're going to require health care, and I'm not against having people get it, but it needs to be applied equally to everyone.
Do you think?
And let the senators and Congress people live on the crappy plan that they want to give us.
Well, I don't know that it's that crappy, but you're not going to get any argument out of me about that. None.
Well,
Because
that's my only argument.
Because I think if you put all the members of the government on the plan will improve dramatically. So
Yes,
I
yes.
got no problem with that at all.
And people have to be made aware. Everybody says, well, they got a plan in Germany. Yes, they have a plan in Germany, but everybody over there pays a 19% VAT tax on everything they buy. They're paying a 19% sales tax.
Okay.
So, we got to figure out how we're going to pay for it, because just to give us a plan, somebody's going to end up paying for it.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think we can afford it unless we have some sort of a payment plan. You follow me? I mean, I think, we need to pay for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rudy. Appreciate it.
Okay, no problem. Clifford on line 3. Yes, Cliff.
Hey, Rudy, how are you doing?
Good.
I came into the conversation a little bit late. I didn't hear your first talking point. The second talking point was, are we ready for a female president?
Correct.
Answer is my answer is unequivocally yes. I've been hoping for Condoleezza Rice to run for many years.
Okay. All right.
I knew you were going to laugh when I said that. I knew you were going to laugh when I said
Of course.
No,
you
heard a lot of
you
people
were making a point. I get your point.
that. Yep.
You're ready as long as it's a conservative. You're ready.
As long as somebody's got good ideas. I didn't necessarily qualify as a conservative. Sound like you did. You might be coming into the age of wisdom or something.
Okay. Well, your point is made. So you think yes, but it just has to be the right person.
Exactly. As long as it's the right person with good ideas.
Okay.
As far as the debates of the night, it seemed like it. I don't know. Maybe coming from my viewpoint, it just looked like it was a bunch of people trying to offer the most without any plan on how to pay for it. That's what it seemed like to me.
Let me say that, because you've said that twice now. Let me ask you a question. When we went into Iraq, did anybody ask how we were going to pay for that? When we made a military budget of $700 billion, did anybody ask how we were going to pay for that? We only ask how we're going to pay for it when it comes to taking care of our own people. And that frustrates me and pisses me off, because when it comes to our people, we got to know how we're going to pay for it. But for everything else, if that's what we think we should do, we should do. Do we have a plan to pay for the $90 billion I believe it's going to, well, I don't want to exaggerate, I think maybe $90 million it's going to cost for the president's parade tomorrow on 4th of July? Is that going to be paid for? Was that okay with you?
I'm not sure.
Was that okay?
I'm not sure.
Was it okay with you to spend our money like that?
I'm not a person that gets to make those decisions, but it wouldn't be the first time that we've had a similar kind of event in this country.
I know, but I'm just asking: is it okay with you that they spend our money like that?
Rudy, do you have any idea what our defense budget is a year?
It was $700 billion. Now, do you want me to tell you what? Let me interpret that for you. We spend.
Okay, so are we only going to start paying those guys in the tanks and the airplanes for this parade, or do we pay them anyway?
Well, we pay every time we fly one of those. Every time we fly one of those fancy planes. They did the projection, I want to say, it's like $100 and something thousand every time one of those planes come out off the ground. Now, what they did today, which was a great PR stunt, is the general came out and said, well, we'll make it a training mission so that it'll be no cost. So we're going to have all the planes flying over the president tomorrow on a training mission, which allegedly will cost no money. But what I'm saying to you is, and I'm not picking on you, I'm just saying that, we always say...
You can pick on me all you want. I'm a big boy. I can handle it.
Okay. Everybody always says, how are we going to pay for it? If we're going to do this for people, how are we going to pay for it? If we're going to do this for people, how are we going to pay for it?
I just gave you my thought process. We're paying for those tanks and those airplanes anyway. And let me answer your question with a question. Rudy, have you ever owned a boat?
No, but I would like to.
Okay, well, you know what? If you own a boat and it sits in the yard and it never gets used, tends to, when you want to use it that one time you go out there, the motor won't start, something's something's on about it. Sometimes it's worse to let things sit around and do nothing than it is to use them every once in a while. So I guess that's maybe the way I'm looking at this.
Well, I can't argue that point with you. I won't even try to argue that point with you because I know that to be true. My only question is, why is it whenever it comes to things that the American people need, we have to find a way to pay for them? Now, if we apply that same standard to everything, then I got no axe to grind. But if every time there is a need that we're trying to address for the American people, we have to find a way to pay for it. Now, I'll give you one more example. We have prison profit companies down at the border setting up tents and cages, etc., to the cost of about $500 million. How are we going to pay for that? Where that money coming from?
I don't know. Congress just tried to pass appropriations to handle the crisis at the border, and a good many of your Democrat friends voted against it, including Ocasio-Cortez or whatever her name is.
Do you know why she voted against it? Do you know why? I can tell you
my
why.
My guess is lack of brain cells firing together. But go ahead, give me your opinion.
No, that's not why. The reason why is because they tried to put some stipulations in the bill that was going to limit how he was going to use the money so that he wouldn't get the money and then turn around and use it in ways it was not intended. That's why she was against it. But the party itself felt compassion for the people, so they voted for it anyway. But that's what she was objecting to. She wasn't objecting to helping the people.
Okay, we can have a discussion about her grasp of political situations at another time. We don't have enough time today for it, but
okay.
The whole thing on the border has been a political pawn, and Rudy, there's a part of me that says that nobody would worry about those people, if they weren't looking at a potential voter block. Maybe that's sheer pessimism on my part, but unfortunately, it's how I see things.
Well, I think it's really unfortunate that you see it that way. And you know why I say that? Because you're an immigrant. If you didn't come over here on the Mayflower, you're an immigrant. The only true Americans in the United States are the American Indian and the Mexicans that was in America before we took the territory. So if you're not one of them, you're an immigrant.
Rudy, why do you and every other liberal pundit assume that all conservatives are anti-immigration?
I didn't assume that you were anti-immigration. I was just making a point.
I understand, but that's a point that almost every liberal makes. It's just like the intellectually easy way to go, just accuse a conservative of being anti-immigration. What we are is we are anti-illegal immigration. I think immigrants coming to this country is what has made us great, but it's not been a bunch of people getting together and celebrating diversity. There's never been a great country that was built by a bunch of people that got together and celebrated their differences. There have been a lot of great countries built by people that got together and accepted their differences and celebrated what they have in common. That's what I want to get back to.
Well, that would be nice. I would like that. You'd never
Don't start agreeing with me too much. It's going to scare me.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. All right. Okay, don't forget the poll. Are we ready for a woman president?
I thought about it, when we discussed it before the show started, I thought, I think we could handle it. The American people could handle a female president. And I think the ones that wouldn't like it are probably the ones that have not been very nice to females in the first place. They're the ones that are going to have trouble with it because they're not going to have cupcakes to tease anymore. You know what I mean? They won't have, holding an office like the President of the United States is going to change women altogether because Look at it right now. Look at the Harvey Weinsteins and all the people, all the sexual harassment that's gone on all these years. And men are paying for it now. They are paying for it. What do those guys think of it, I wonder?
Well, I think there is a lot to what you say, but to my surprise, there are a lot of women who do not feel that women should be a president of the United States. And I'm not sure why, but there are women out there that feel like Winnie. Winnie didn't feel that we're ready for a woman president of the United States. So I'm not sure about that, but and let me say this, and this is going to really tick off some of my conservative friends.
Which isn't very hard to do in the first
No.
place.
The most qualified person we've had run for office since George H.W. Bush has been Hillary Clinton. And she was savaged by the Republican Party, which is part of the reason why she never was able to cross over to break the ceiling and get in office. But her qualifications were exemplary. And even though they had hearing after hearing after hearing, there's never been an indictment of any kind. So, but we have John on line one. Yes, John. Yes, John.
No, I don't think this country is ready for a woman president.
Okay.
And I don't think they'd probably, not in the near future, vote for another black president or a Hispanic. Unless, everybody gets out there and votes, there might be a better opportunity, a better chance. But if it's only one segment, then, we're doomed to repeat what took place. It's very sad. We can't make any progress. We're going to stay divided. Nobody's wrong. Everybody's right, I guess.
Well, I think, well, John, I know your sense of humor, and my listeners may not, but
I'm being serious.
Listen,
I'm saying.
I think there are some wonderfully smart, intelligent women, very capable of being president of the United States. No question in my mind about that. None. I think what happened, though, is at this time around, because of what happened to Hillary, there are women that are spooked and some Democrats that are spooked to support a woman candidate for fear that Trump would win again.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think that's the fear.
I don't know what the answer is. Like I said, unless unless people get out and vote that want to see a change, it's really not going to happen. They're going to have like the old business as usual,
Well,
like a dog. It's a dog who's abused. He always goes back to the master because that's all he knows,
Well,
and there's a certain segment that feels that way,
Yeah, but I think that people will vote. I think there is a high degree of energy out there for people that want change. They do not want to continue with having a Donald Trump in the office. So we'll see.
Well,
okay.
I understand what you're saying, and I think you're right. It's just will they get out there and vote?
I think
that's
so.
The thing. They can't give up, and they can't wait for somebody else. And I'll tell you another big problem. Maybe you'll agree that when you have a lot of candidates on the same party, it really divides the vote. They'll vote for somebody who doesn't have a chance because they think, well, I don't want to vote for this one, so or they won't vote at all. And when they don't vote, then the person that they don't want in the first place, it's actually giving him a credit of a vote. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
That's the sad part. I don't know what to say.
Well,
it's sad.
I think there are people highly motivated to get out and vote. That's what I believe.
Well, I hope you're right. I really do. I'm not going to live forever. I'm up there in years, but I'd like to see some decency back and some honesty and caring and
Oh man.
and the country at it again.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But I gotta let you go, John. I got some calls coming.
Okay, thanks for listening.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you, John. And Jay, yes, sir. How are you?
Okay, I'm doing pretty good, Rudy. How are you and your co-host?
Good.
I hope everybody there is doing great.
Yes.
I voted. I wanted to. I've been saying this ever since this thing campaign came along with the people. Making. With the with the Democrats running for president, and I right away I listened to Elizabeth Warren. I said, "This is the one. She is amazing."
Yes.
And she's so much clarity and explain. You can have a third grade education and understand what she's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
How she wants to break it down. How she wants to run the country.
Yep.
There's no question about it. And to me, I'm almost, I'd almost be ready to bet that there will be a woman president. Then you get, I was sold on her. Then I listened to Kamala Harris. I've been watching her since she became a senator, and she's very smart, and she knows what she's doing when she's in that Senate, when she's doing the investigating, when people trying to be confirmed for different things or bringing them up on charges or whatever, just to ask questions. She's the one that's harder. She gets to them because she knows how to answer questions. And she knows how to put them on a spot where they have to, say yes or no.
Yep.
And she's very good at that, and she's not afraid. And she deals with issues. And now with her popularity, which she did with Biden, that whole thing about busing and all, she's been getting threats, and they're trying to say she's not black enough. They're trying to. What they're doing is what they did in the election in 2016 was pin black voters against each other.
Right.
And try to let them know that this person is not really for the black community. They don't even understand. They haven't been through the struggle like you and all of this stuff. And it's so sad. And they think that we're stupid, that we don't do it. We're not. We don't know what's going on. We know, just like you said that most of the folks that came here were immigrants.
Yeah.
Most of them, they came here, and I say that all the time. I say, here, all these people are down on these brown folk because they're coming in from Central America, but yet most of them came here from Europe and all over the place.
I have said that,
and a lot of them came in here, and I went to school with some of them when I was very young. I went to school in elementary school at the time before a lot of the Italians and Irish moved out of the city. When I was living in Brooklyn, they all went to school. The first generation Irish and Italians, and a lot of their parents couldn't speak English. They would come to school because of one thing or another, and they had to have somebody that could like the kids had to interpret for them, could talk to the principal or whoever. But this, I remember all of this stuff, and it just goes on. And they were picked on. They were picked on because they were new arrivals, so they had to go through the gauntlet. But it seemed like they forgot about that.
Yep.
Seemed like they got amnesia all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. That I can remember this, and I remember what they were, with their plight and with the struggle in this country, and now all of a sudden they want to try to keep down these folks that are trying to get asylum with, they have the legal right for asylum, yet they're going to put them in pens and all that and treat kids like that. And the Republican Party is supposed to be so religious. They're supposed to be this is the religious party. They have all of these big, big things once a year where they have all the, Falwell, everybody used to come to it. But yet, they got kids living in squalor and all of that, treating them like, like animals. But yet, that's not what Jesus said, on the Sermon on the Mount.
No, not at all.
If they lived by their religion, they would read that quote that Jesus made on the Sermon on the Mount and then find out, are they like that?
Well, the Bible says specifically how to treat a stranger.
That's right.
The Bible talks about that, how to treat a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
But, hey, listen, I tell people, I've had people get furious with me when I tell them they're an immigrant because you are. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing that I fight against the most that is upsetting to me. And I talked about this probably 2 or 3 years ago on my show. And at least once a year, I probably bring it up. You got Mexicans in the United States that have been here long before any white people were here. long
Absolutely.
before.
That's right.
In California and New Mexico and Arizona and Texas, there was Mexicans in this country long before there was any white folks in here. And what I get concerned about is when you have this fever pitch about being anti-immigrant, to point that at somebody who's a legitimate American citizen. That's not right.
Right.
You know, but it's the mindset that's being developed with this immigration thing. And that's what I don't like. I'm not against having some kind of proper way of entering the country, but the way it is now, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire and just flaming it and getting everybody all stirred up because there's brown people at the border.
Right.
And that's not right.
Yeah. And the sad part about it, when you listen to the president, he doesn't hide with the way he thinks about that and what his motivation is. He said the only people he wants to come over here are the ones from Eastern Europe.
That's right.
He said it. You know,
yes,
he said it right out of his mouth. He said, you know, they're the ones he wants. You know, people from Sweden, from Eastern Europe to come. He wants them to be, you know, to come here and become citizens.
Yeah.
That's who he. That's his priority. That's what he said. That's what he wants, and that's what his followers want. And you know, so people need to wake up and understand what the big picture is and why he's doing what he's doing when it comes to immigration and how he's treating these people over down in Mexico and down on the southern border, the way they're being treated, and it's unconscionable. I hope tomorrow that there be a big demonstration there in Washington where people come in and really raise a little cane about what he's doing, and especially on 4th of July Day, the day that all he has to do is read the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, and use that as a marker to tell you what America's about, not what he's trying to do. What he's trying to remake it into.
Right.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Okay. Listen. Let me get on to this Medicare thing. You want to take a quick?
Well, I did want to report on how the polls were coming in on the phones.
Okay. All right.
Now we everybody who called the show, we've had 5 callers, and 3 of them say yes, and 2 of them say no.
Okay.
But you know, maybe it is time, because look at the voting situation. They can vote now. Women couldn't vote for a long time.
It's true.
And they couldn't do that. And you want to talk about suppression? The women have undergone a lot of discrimination for a long time, even now. So when it happens, I think the pendulum will start to swing the other way and balance things out just a little bit.
Listen, here's the thing. If you have had a broad life's experience, like I'd like to say that I have, living in many places up and down this East Coast, I have met some very capable women. And some of these women, like I'm going to tell you the one that, and I think Clifford was talking about earlier, people think AOC is an idiot. She's not an idiot. She's brilliant. She is sometimes steps over the line on some things, but her courage has impressed me, because you get a lot of people that talk about what they want to do, but she's out there trying to do it, and that takes guts. And she's willing to stand in the fire with the flames all around her and people throwing rocks at her, and she doesn't move. And, you know, she will always have admiration from me on just that alone, even if I don't agree with her all the time. And then you go and you do some research on her, and she won a science award for an incredible projects that she did. This woman is smart, and she learns quickly. So, but I happen to think there's women out here that could do a good job running this country. And like Jay said, I'm a Elizabeth Warren fan. I have been. Now, Kamala has kind of crept into the picture, but I have always thought that Elizabeth Warren is a dynamo. So, and, just because, and here's the thing that we've got to get away from that causes us a lot of angst. If somebody believes different than you believe, that doesn't make them an idiot. That makes them somebody that thinks differently than you. And what you really need to do, which most of you won't do, try to find out why they believe what they believe. I had a debate with somebody early this week on Facebook, the kind of person that I like to have a debate with. And she was talking about socialism. And I gave her some reading information and some thoughts. And by the time we finished that conversation, she didn't agree with me, but she said, I'm going to go and look at some of that stuff you told me about and some of those clips you sent me in the email. Now, see, that's the kind of person you can have a dialogue with. But if somebody says, oh, you believe that our economic system is no good, well, then you're a fool and an idiot. Oh, no, I'm not. I might be smarter than you because I'm able to see that there's a need for change. And if you can't see at this point that there's a need for change and that trickle-down economics doesn't work, it is absolutely proven not to work. And as I've told some of you before, and I keep harping on this, look up patriotic millionaires. And the millionaires will tell you that the trickle-down economics doesn't work. And it's not black liberals, it's white people that have a lot of money who think the system's broken and it needs to be fixed. So, okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox here. Let me get back to the thing that I really want to do because we're running out of time here. When they say Medicare for all, what does that mean? First, let me explain to you what Medicare is. Medicare, when you turn 65, you qualify for Medicare benefits. There's a Part A, which you have paid for in your Social Security throughout your working career that comes to you literally at no cost. Then you have a Part B. Your Part A is your hospitalization. Your Part B is your doctors and lab visits, et cetera, et cetera. That is available to you at a cost of $134 a month, okay? So you have to pay for that Part B. Now, what does that mean? You can keep the basic Medicare that you have, but if you're over 65 and you have Medicare, you also must have a drug plan. But if you have Medicare for all, and here's what I want you to get this in your head. You can have private health insurance with Medicare. When I put somebody in a Medicare Advantage plan, the only thing that I've done is I've taken their Medicare and allowed them to get their services through a private health company. Now, what's the advantage of that? The advantage of that is that people who get their Medicare through a private insurance company or a medical advantage plan, they sometimes get their prescription drugs. You can get eyeglasses. You can get dental coverage. In some cases, you get trips, transportation to and from the doctor. Okay, all of that is covered. Also, you can have memberships to a health facility like LA Fitness or what's the other one? I can't think, it escapes me anyway, but you can have a membership to a health facility. So those are the kinds of things that you get. And In this area, just so you know, most of the major hospitals, the Tradition, the HCA, all accept medical advantage plans, and so do most of the major doctors groups. So if you have a doctor in any of those doctor groups and you have Medicare, you'll probably be able to keep them. And I got to get to my caller. And we have Patrick. Patrick on line 1. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, the 30 years we've been talking about the healthcare. The healthcare, you got to have doctors that have healthcare, number one. Trickle down doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work, but it's the best thing that you can do.
No, it's not.
You can't have a situation where, you remember when people used to say they didn't talk politics and religion? We really need, that's a better way to live. Because all you got is one divisiveness against the other, shifting, phasing, running into this, it doesn't mean anything when it comes down to real life. The real life is you have to come to the country, work hard, understand it was not a perfect country. I don't know why it's held up as this perfect country. We forged in blood just like every other country. It's a democratic republic society. Some people have opinions that are different than others, and that's fine. I welcome it. That's why you have the debates. But you don't have that now. You have one gang screaming at another gang, and the people in power love it because they get up and they scream. I can tell you who the redcoats are. Yet other people I talk to, they think they mean well. They don't mean well. And if they do mean well, then they're not the brightest people. But I don't think they mean well. I think they're out for themselves, keep their power, and unfortunately, money has gone out of control, and that's why you're seeing, a devastating country, and we sit back and quabble while the country is in dire need of intelligent thinking and understanding. Simple things like you can't have people voting if they're not paying anything in. But if I say that, I'm not a compassionate person, but I'm compassionate for the country.
What do you mean if they're not
Tomorrow is the country's birthday.
Wait. What do you mean they're not paying anything in? What does that mean?
They're not paying any taxes, and they're living off a situation which should have never happened. There was a mistake that got compounded, that could compound it. But the solutions are always the same thing. Make the problem worse.
Why?
The old adage, you got to teach people to fish. Everybody's got to learn to do something. And get in a situation where it's a positive situation. You're learning, you're growing. Hopefully that's what's happening. And not sit back and criticize and not have any alternative but a total disaster. We don't need change.
But that's not, we do need change.
From the British, we were pretty successful.
No, we need change. We need change, and I'm going to tell you why we need change. I'm going to tell you why. Years ago, and I can make it this easy for you. Just think about when I graduated from college, I think the Dow was trading probably a shade under 2,000 or at 2,000. Today, it's almost at 30,000, 2,500, or now think about this for 1 second. And you don't even have to do the math, just the pure logic. How could the economy and the profits in corporations grow exponentially like that, and there are no corresponding increases in wages? Now, the reason why is because the people at the top take more and more and more, and the conservatives systematically, and I must say, in a very strategic, surgical manner, has destroyed most of the unions, so that the common man who would have some leverage and bargaining power and helping him to get a decent wage no longer has that ability because it's been shrunk to almost nothing. So that has been, so when you say that there's got to be a change. One of the things that Robert Reich...
This is the problem, though. That's what they call corruption. When you have people in power who use what you just said as an argument and they're already in power, it's not ever going to change. Don't you get... When somebody believes something and they make, like right now, Antifa, they say they're anti-fascist. They're fascists. They're breaking the law. They're beating people up. They're beating people to a pulp. I've got beat to a pulp in the street. Nobody came to my aid. I didn't go running around going crazy. I said, this is a horrible situation, totally unfair, totally crazy. But you can't continue to have chaos. And that's when I hear the word change, I hear chaos.
Well, that's
you want to act like everything we've done is terrible. No, it's not.
No,
it's not.
Everything we've done is not terrible, but to not change is horrific. When you look at what has happened around, let me give you another. Let me give you another good example. When they first suggested to end segregation, there was a wild backlash in this country. They thought the country was going to go to hell in a handbasket, that they were going to do this. To say that today in 2019, it seems stupid that people even thought that. But people thought that because
in the words of George Washington Carver, he said, keep the patient sick. So we'll always have to attend to him. Of course we need change. But it has to be agreed upon that these guys before us knew what they were talking about. If we're not going to pay attention to them and we're not going to learn from history, then we're going to just keep repeating the same thing over and over and over. In the words of Santa Anna, you learn from looking in the rearview mirror, but you drive looking through the windshield. We have to move forward with trying to make the mistakes of the past not occur again. I see them occurring again, and I hear the same arguments, and I see the same thing with the brown shirts and the fascists and the pigs and the same lexicon. They want to change the words. Anytime somebody wants to change the vocabulary, run to the hills.
Well, I gotta let you go. I hope you call back again, because I'd like to finish this conversation, because you and I strongly disagree about change, because change is very important. But thank you for being a caller and a listener. And folks, thank you for listening to the African American Scene. God bless, be safe, have a great 4th of July, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
And remember, it's all about the dialogue. Had some good stuff tonight on the show, and archives of this show can be found on YouTube. Go to WPSLTV.com. That'll take you directly to our YouTube presence. See you online. This is WPSL, Port St. Lucie, the top of the Treasure Coast, where the time right now is 7 o'clock.